Hey mums and dads, did you know that when your child masters the skill of using their thumb and their index finger to grasp things, which is called a pincer grip, they're going to be able to use spoons during meal times. They're going to be significantly more accurate and cleaner when they're using their fingers to place finger food in their mouth. And lastly, which is the most important thing, is your baby is no longer going to need to place toys in their mouth when they're exploring them in play. They now have the ability to kind of manipulate the toys, so their play shifts to becoming one where they'll shake the toy, they'll look at it, and they'll turn it and manipulate it. Babies who continue to use an immature grasp when playing, so they might use those 3 fingers or their whole hand when playing with toys, continue to place toys in their mouth because that's how they explore toys, because they don't have that dexterity in their hands yet. And also they find it difficult to manipulate the smaller toys that we'd be expecting at that age. So what can you do to help your baby develop this vital skill? There's some really easy activities that you can do with your bub to develop that pincer skill, as well as some great toys that will help encourage that development. So make sure you stick around and you can find out what you can do to give your child a head start. But before we get into it, make sure you get that free PDF document on developmental milestones in the description box below. This will give you an invaluable peace of mind, as you'll know what to expect in your baby's first year of life and when to be concerned. Also, if you're wanting some information on baby development and parenting tips and tricks that I've learned over the last 10 years practicing as a pediatric occupational therapist and being a mum to 2 children, then make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to be notified when I release a new video every week. And if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. So, what is the pincer grip? The pincer grip is the ability to hold an object between your thumb and your index finger, so the pads of your thumb and your index finger, just like this. When your baby is around 8 to 9 months, they'll start to develop an immature pincer grip, which is basically they learn to hold an item between their thumb and their index finger. And then as they get to around 10 to 12 months, really you typically see it at 12 months, your baby will develop a mature pincer grip, which is where they hold the item between the pad of their thumb and their index finger. So what activities can you do to help your child develop this skill? The easiest activity you can do with your child is give them finger food that requires them to use that grasp. So smaller food that is obviously safe for them to eat and that they're not going to choke on. So it might be some cooked pasta, some cooked potato cubes or pumpkin cubes, or Cheerios or blueberries that are cut in half, or grapes that are cut in half lengthways, which requires them to kind of grab the food with their pincer grip. So again, remember, they'll first off use that immature grip, but then they'll get stronger and they'll start to use their mature pincer grip. Now, to make it kind of easier for your baby to make sure that they don't use that raking motion when they're grabbing food off the tray, I would generally present one food, like a piece of food at a time. And that just ensures that if they've got like 5 Cheerios on the tray, you'll see them using that raking motion. But if you only present one at a time, so one Cheerio at a time, they will use that pincer grip. If your baby doesn't, then you can do some simple things like put the food in an egg carton or an ice cube kind of tray, so something like this, because it simply stops them from being able to put their whole hand, so use their whole hand to grab the item. They have to kind of isolate those fingers to pick up the food. But that's a really easy way that you can kind of promote that skill, but also do it in a fun way for your child. The other way you can do it is by using Inset Puzzles that have little knobs on it. So because that section of the puzzle means that they have to use that pincer grip to grab it. You can get puzzle pieces that have larger kind of knobs on the puzzle, but I would avoid them and stay with the really small ones. And that's simply because the big ones kind of encourage your child to use those, well, your baby to use those 3 fingers or their whole hand to grab it, where the smaller ones mean that they'll actually have to use their thumb and their index finger to grab the puzzle. Again, at this age, we're not expecting them to put the puzzle pieces in, we're just wanting them to pull the puzzle pieces out. Another way you can work on the pincer grip is by presenting them with toys on a string. And when you present the string, I would present it in a kind of vertical motion, so that it means that they have to kind of grab it this way. Whereas if you present it horizontally, you're encouraging them to use their whole hand to kind of rake the string. So you want to present it so that they have to pick it up vertically and just pick it up that way. Another activity you can do with your child is give them blocks to play with. So you generally would use small blocks like this size, not the larger ones like the Duplo size blocks, or the ones that you post into a shape sorter. So the smaller ones are great. These are a smidge big for my liking, but when you have the smaller blocks, it would mean that they have to grab it with their pincer grip. They might use the 3-jaw chuck grip, but that's fine. They'll move on to this as they become more proficient in that skill. And then by 12 months, they'll be stacking one block on top of the other. But at this age, you could get them to grab the block and then post it into like a metal mixing bowl or a large ice cream container. Another great activity you can do with your bub is use pegmen. Now that's pretty expensive, so you can use just these kind of ones which are quite cheap and they're decorations, but when you're presenting it to your baby at 10 months and up until 12, really you'd present it this way where your baby will come and grab it like that. But by 12 months your baby will have the ability to rotate their wrist when they're approaching a toy, so they'll be able to grab it this way and then they'll use that pincer grip. So you can see with the bigger end it encourages you to use the 3 fingers, but if you turn it around it's a smaller grip required, so you could use that pincer grip. Now if you don't have those kind of things at home, that's fine. You could get your little bub to pull straw out of a container, or you might be able to use pegs, so you just present it the same thing so that they're up straight initially, and then they'll use that pincer grip, and then by 12 months they'll be able to rotate that hand and they'll use that pincer grip to grab the toy. Or if you've got like straws or kind of blunted ends, so this is pick up sticks, you could use that as well to help your baby develop that pincer skill. You can also get your bub to turn the pages in board books because they will kind of do that pinch and flip the page, so it's working on that pincer skill. And the other activity you can do, depends on how much you like mess and a bit of waste I guess, is let your child pull out tissues from a tissue box. Now when there's a lot of the tissues out, it kind of encourages that whole hand grasp, so you just kind of have a small like triangle sticking out so that they pull just a small amount. But do be aware your baby's going to really enjoy that activity, so all the tissues are going to come out and they're going to go everywhere. So if you're happy to have a bit of mess and a bit of waste, then go ahead and use the tissue box. Now do remember when your baby's doing these activities, they're going to use both hands to kind of play with the toys, and that's totally fine. We're not expecting a dominant hand till about 2 years of age to 3, like that's when we can start to pick it. So let them use both hands when they're engaging in these activities. So that's it, mums and dads. Those are the activities that you can do to help your baby develop their pincer grip and have lots of fun while doing it. Remember to get that free PDF document in the description box below, and if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, and hopefully I'll see you next week where I'll share more parenting tips and tricks.